Lyra sat quietly in the high tower of the Crystal Palace, staring at the stars that stretched across the night sky. She had always loved the stars, their calm light contrasting sharply with the restless whispers of the court. Her father, the alien king, was a proud and strict ruler. Strength and courage were prized above all else in their empire. And Lyra, she had never been strong. Even her smallest attempts at training ended in failure. The court laughed at her often. She could hear their whispers when she passed. The weak princess, they called her. She will never be ready for the world outside. Lyra tried not to cry. She wanted to be brave, to prove herself worthy of her father's pride. But the fear inside her grew larger every day. One evening, as the twin moons rose in the sky, a strange light appeared above the palace gates. It moved with a speed and precision no alien ship had ever shown. The guards were on high alert, weapons raised. From the light emerged a human, a small figure compared to the towering aliens, yet he walked with confidence. His eyes held a calm intelligence that made even the guards pause. The king summoned his council. "He is a human," one advisor whispered. "They are weak, fragile creatures from the distant stars." The king's eyes, sharp and calculating, studied the human. "Perhaps, but there is something in his gaze, a fire. We will see what lessons he can teach." He turned his gaze toward Lyra. "You will live with him. You will learn from him. If you survive, perhaps you will find your own strength." Lyra's heart sank. Live with a human? The idea was ridiculous. She had been raised among aliens, trained in their ways, and now she was to be taught by one of the weakest species? Her cheeks burned with embarrassment. But she knew better than to protest. Her father's word was final. The human introduced himself as Jarek. He spoke slowly, carefully observing Lyra's reactions. "I am here to help you," he said. "Not to hurt you, not to judge you, but to guide you if you are willing to try." Lyra nodded, uncertain. She felt a strange mix of fear and curiosity. She had nothing to lose but her own timidity, she realized. Their first days together were difficult. Lyra struggled with basic exercises Jarek taught her. A simple human training drill exhausted her. She tripped, fell, and her body ached in ways she had never felt before. The palace staff whispered behind her back. She cannot even move like a human, let alone fight like one. But Jarek never scolded her. He showed patience, demonstrating the moves slowly, explaining every step. "It is not about power," he said one morning as they practiced near a crystalline lake. "It is about knowing yourself. Your mind, your heart, your courage. Strength comes from within, not just from muscle." Lyra frowned. She had heard this before in stories and speeches, but it had always seemed empty. Now, seeing how Jarek moved, how carefully he balanced himself and reacted to every change around him, she began to understand. There was power in calmness, power in control, power in courage. One afternoon, Jarek led her into the wildlands outside the palace. The alien forests were strange, with trees that shimmered like glass and creatures that glowed in the dark. Here there were no guards, no servants, no court to mock her, only challenges. They came across a small wild creature, its sharp claws ready to attack. Lyra froze. Jarek crouched beside her. "Move slowly," he whispered. "Don't let fear control you. Watch, think, act." Lyra's heart raced. She took a careful step, then another. She raised her hand. The creature hesitated, and then with a final motion she guided it away from their path without harming it. Jarek smiled. "Well done," he said simply. Lyra felt a small spark of pride. She had done it. She had acted without panic. Days turned into weeks. Lyra's body grew stronger. Her mind grew sharper. Jarek introduced her to human techniques, ways to use speed, agility, and clever thinking to overcome larger opponents. He taught her to anticipate danger, to stay calm under pressure, to trust herself even when the odds seemed impossible. One morning, a messenger arrived at the palace with urgent news. A group of hostile aliens had been spotted near the border of the kingdom. They were known for their brutality, and the king's army was already stretched thin defending other regions. The king summoned Lyra. "You have trained with this human long enough," he said, his voice steady. "Tomorrow you will accompany him to the border. You will see if your lessons have taken root. You may be our last hope." Lyra's knees trembled. The thought of facing real enemies terrified her. But Jarek placed a hand on her shoulder. "You are ready," he said. "Not because you are perfect, but because you are brave enough to try. That is all that matters." The next day they rode out to meet the threat. Lyra's heart pounded in her chest, but she remembered Jarek's words. Calmness, observation, courage. The borderlands were desolate, rocky plains stretching under twin suns. The hostile aliens appeared suddenly, their ships descending like dark birds of prey. Lyra's first instinct was to run, but she stood her ground. She followed Jarek's lead, using the terrain to her advantage, hiding behind rocks and leading the smaller creatures into traps. The battle was small, yet intense. Lyra found herself moving with a speed she had never imagined, dodging attacks, helping the wounded, and coordinating small groups of alien soldiers. Her heart swelled with something new, confidence. For the first time, she felt that she belonged not because of her title, but because of her actions. After the skirmish, the soldiers looked at her with surprise. The princess. She fought, one whispered, and she saved many of us. Lyra looked at Jarek, who simply nodded. You are learning, he said. Not just fighting. You are becoming something more. Returning to the palace, Lyra was no longer the same timid girl who had left. She had tasted her own strength. Her body was leaner, her reflexes sharper, her mind clearer. But more importantly, she had discovered the courage that had always been hidden beneath fear. The king observed her from the throne room, his eyes unreadable. You are different, he said at last. Perhaps I underestimated the value of humans, and the potential of my daughter. Lyra felt a mixture of pride and relief. She had not only survived, she had grown. Yet she knew this was only the beginning. The hostile forces would return, stronger and more dangerous, and when they did, she would need to be ready. That night she stared at the stars again, but now she did not feel small. She felt a fire inside her, a determination that would not be extinguished. She had been weak once, but that was over. Now, with Jarek at her side, she was learning what it truly meant to be strong. And somewhere in the darkness, beyond the palace walls, a new danger stirred, unaware that a timid princess was becoming a warrior who would challenge even the fiercest of enemies. The first step of her transformation was complete. Lyra no longer feared her own shadow. She was ready to take the next step, and the galaxy would soon see what she could do. The sun rose over the alien capital like a burning crystal, its light glinting off towers and spires that reached into the sky. The city was alive with activity, but an undercurrent of fear ran through the streets. Word had spread that the hostile alien fleet was moving closer, their dark ships blotting out the horizon. Soldiers prepared defenses while citizens hurried to shelters, their faces pale with worry. Lyra stood atop one of the palace terraces, her eyes fixed on the distant clouds. Beside her, Jarek adjusted his equipment, scanning the sky. They are coming, he said calmly. But you are ready. Lyra clenched her fists. She remembered the timid girl she had been, the one who feared her own shadow. That girl was gone. Now she felt a fire inside her, a determination stronger than any fear. She was not just a princess. She was a warrior. The first wave of enemy ships appeared at midday, dark silhouettes against the sun. They moved with precision and aggression, the capital's defense systems activated, energy beams slicing through the air. But the aliens were fast, dodging attacks and sending smaller strike teams to the streets below. Lyra ran to the front lines, moving with a speed and confidence that surprised even the guards. She took command of a group of soldiers, positioning them strategically between barricades and elevated platforms. Stay calm, she instructed, her voice steady. Watch their movements, predict their attacks. We fight smart, not just strong. The first clash came quickly. Hostile alien warriors, larger and stronger than any Lyra had faced before, charged at her position. Her heart pounded, but she did not falter. Using techniques Jarek had taught her, she dodged their blows, countering with precise strikes. She moved like a shadow, fluid and confident, guiding her soldiers to trap the enemy in tight corridors where their size worked against them. One of the alien soldiers lunged at her, its claws aiming for her chest. Lyra ducked, twisting her body and using the momentum to flip over its back, sending it crashing into a barricade. Around her, soldiers began to follow her lead, gaining courage from her presence. Her actions inspired them, proving that leadership was not about title but about bravery and skill. Jarek fought nearby, covering her flank. He was human, yes, but his strategies and calmness under pressure allowed them to complement each other perfectly. Lyra realized then that humans were more than fragile. They were adaptable, creative, and relentless when they believed in something. She felt a surge of gratitude for her teacher, but no longer the timid respect she once felt. Now it was partnership, equality, and trust. The battle raged on for hours. The streets of the capital became a maze of smoke, energy blasts, and roaring engines. Civilians were evacuated and soldiers held the line, inspired by Lyra's determination. Every time she faced a new enemy, she assessed quickly, anticipating their movements, guiding her troops, and striking with precision. The timid princess of yesterday would have collapsed under this pressure. The warrior Lyra of today thrived. Midday turned to evening, and the main strike force of the hostile aliens descended upon the palace itself. Massive machines armed with devastating weapons moved like living beasts toward the throne tower. Lyra and Jarek positioned themselves at the palace gates. "This is it," Jarek said. "We hold them here or everything is lost." Lyra nodded, her jaw set. She remembered the lessons, the struggles, the failures that had shaped her. "We hold," she said firmly. "No retreat." The enemy advanced. Lyra led a squad of elite soldiers, using a combination of human tactics and alien technology. She coordinated ambushes, guided energy turrets to weak points in the enemy machines, and used the terrain to their advantage. Her mind worked like a finely tuned machine, calculating, predicting, adapting. An enormous enemy mech broke through a defensive barricade, its size dwarfing anything Lyra had faced. Soldiers panicked, retreating. Lyra did not. She charged forward, dodging its energy blasts, leaping onto its side using grappling hooks and agility she had never thought possible. She targeted its power source, a glowing core at the center of its body. With precise strikes and careful timing, she disabled the machine, sending it crashing to the ground in a shower of sparks. The soldiers cheered. Lyra felt a thrill unlike any she had known. Fear had become fuel. Doubt had become determination. She was no longer a weak princess. She was the heart of the defense, a beacon for all who fought beside her. The battle continued through the night. Waves of enemy forces attacked, but Lyra and Jarek's strategy held firm. Together, they used a combination of alien technology and human ingenuity, unexpected maneuvers, clever traps, and unorthodox tactics, to turn the tide. Slowly, the invaders began to falter, their confidence shaken by the coordinated resistance. During a brief lull, Lyra looked around at the battlefield. The city was scarred, buildings shattered, streets filled with debris, but the people were alive. Soldiers looked to her with admiration and trust. She had become more than she had ever imagined, and yet she knew the battle was not over. The enemy commander, a towering alien known for his ruthlessness, had yet to appear. As dawn broke over the horizon, the final assault began. The commander himself led the attack, a massive figure clad in dark armor, radiating power. His ship descended over the palace gates, weapons primed. Soldiers trembled, but Lyra did not. She felt calm, focused, and ready. Jarek handed her a specialized weapon designed for the assault. "We fight together," he said. "Stay close, watch my back, and trust yourself." Lyra nodded. She did not hesitate. With a surge of courage, she ran toward the enemy commander, dodging blasts and debris, moving with speed and precision. She coordinated her squad to flank the commander, using every tactic she had learned. The battle was fierce, with energy beams clashing and explosions shaking the ground. The commander struck at her directly, a blow that could have killed anyone weaker. Lyra parried, using agility and strength she had cultivated over months. She dodged, countered, and with a clever maneuver taught by Jarek, she exploited a weak point in his armor. A precise strike disabled his weapon, leaving him vulnerable. The commander fell, defeated, his forces retreating in disarray. The battlefield fell silent except for the cheers of the soldiers and citizens who had witnessed the victory. Lyra stood amidst the chaos, breathing heavily, her eyes blazing with triumph. She had faced the impossible and prevailed. Returning to the palace, the king awaited her. His expression was unreadable at first, then softened. "You have changed," he said. "I gave you to a human, thinking it a test of patience and survival. But you have become more than I ever imagined. You are strong, brave, and wise. You are no longer the weak princess I feared, but a warrior worthy of this kingdom." Lyra bowed, but her eyes were steady and proud. "I have learned from the human," she said, "but I have also learned from myself. Strength is not given. It is discovered." Jarek smiled beside her. "You did all of this yourself," he said. "I only guided you. The courage, the strength, the wisdom, it was always inside you." Lyra felt a warmth in her chest. She had found her place in the world, not as someone protected by others, but as someone who could protect, lead, and inspire. The timid girl who had once sat alone in the palace tower, staring at the stars, was gone. In her place was a warrior who had earned the respect of an entire empire. The victory inspired the people of the kingdom. Stories of the princess who had trained with a human spread quickly. Young warriors began to see that strength was not only muscle or weaponry, but courage, ingenuity, and heart. Lyra had transformed not only herself, but the very culture of her people. As the sun set that evening, casting golden light over the recovering city, Lyra and Jarek stood together on the palace terrace. The stars appeared once more, calm and constant. Lyra smiled. She had faced her fears, embraced her courage, and discovered her true self. The galaxy had seen a timid princess rise into a fierce warrior, and it would never forget her name. And somewhere beyond the stars, enemies watched, unaware that the human who had arrived months ago had sparked the transformation of a princess into a force capable of changing the course of the galaxy. Lyra knew that new challenges would come, but she was ready. Fear no longer controlled her. Courage did. Strength did. Humanity, in its quiet, unassuming way, had shown her the path. She was ready for anything.